Live tonight. We got a guest in the mobile studio online. This is we're switching it up. All right, I know everyone's really in their feelings, heartbroken. You know, you lost your O10 boss. We don't know what to do, and so we're gonna switch it up. All right, we're gonna get back to what I really like to talk about, what we're really trying to make the channel about in the future, and that's all about veterans and things that we do in our veteran lives and the community out there and things like that. So today's guest is a brother from the mess, working out of another place because Texas is huge. We're not, I'll let him disclose that if he'd like. But, we're going to talk some hunting stuff. I've been sharing it here on the channel that I really want to get into some hunting while I'm here in Texas. And it just so happens I'm working around some great people that are well connected. So let me introduce you all to Will. Will, we're not going to use your last name just in case anyone's out there and they want to try to stalk you or something. So we'll kick it over to Will. How you doing, Will? Good evening. Go ahead and introduce yourself for the fans today.
Hey, how's everybody doing? I'm Will. I'm actually in Corpus Christi area down on the coast of Texas, and I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here. Appreciate the invite.
Yeah, well, so Will,
I
go ahead.
but I didn't know if you wanted some background or
Yeah,
you want to
I was
start
just
with
gonna say
that.
that. Yep, yeah, go ahead. Tell us, what's your rate? What do you do in the Navy, or what's your true profession in the Navy? Because I know what you're doing here, and then just give us a little bit back about your background. What the usual standard, 9 yard spiel here. Where'd you join out of? What you doing? All that.
Sure. Yeah. I'm a Texas boy through and through. Born and raised outside of Austin area. I know a lot of Texans hold that against me. They say it's the California of Austin, but either way, grew up doing redneck shit, outside of Austin, and didn't join the Navy till I was 29 when I joined the Navy
Oh wow.
as enlisted. Yeah, so I was focused on family and just some other personal focuses at the time, which were great. But then I ended up just kind of growing in a different direction and decided to go for it before it was too late for me in the Navy and the military in general. And ended up joining the Navy out of San Antonio, and I'm recruiting now out of San Antonio, full circle back here to retire after 19 years and some change. I retire here in a few months, and so it's been awesome. It's been an adventure. It's taken care of me and my family for 20 years, and untold connections, across the country, even around the world. People that you know they say your close friends are the family you choose, and that's the way it's been. And so, getting back to Texas, it's awesome to be getting ready for the next chapter, getting ready to retire, and get back into focusing on being home. That was the whole goal, is to circle
Yeah.
back around and be home. So
Yeah.
I've got a wife and a son. My son's 23. He just
Damn.
turned 23. Yeah, a couple of days ago. So uh, he's a grown ass man doing his own thing.
Yeah.
And in fact, he lives up in College Station, and he's working and taking care of himself and doing good things. So, but me and my wife been together for 13 years, and it's finally figured that one out. After a couple misses, they were completely my fault.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, we learn and grow and figure things out along the way. But me and my current wife met at the right time in the right place, and just have been happy ever since, and grow together. So
That's
um,
awesome.
that's kind of me in a nutshell. I do love fishing and hunting, and the camaraderie that comes with it. I personally, I've as much as I've grown up and been around fishing and hunting, I tend to do it with when I have a chance to do it with other folks, other brothers and sisters, and folks that connect in that way. I'm not one to just go out every weekend on my own and such like that. I prefer to be, on a trip with folks that enjoy it and reconnect with nature and each other. So
That's great. That's great. Let's back up a little bit. So, Will, because we do have some viewers that are not Navy, and even more that are. So, why don't you share with them, like, well, what's your rate, right? What have you been doing before you got here recruiting, and just give a little background on that about that experience, and then, how have you been able to keep, your stations and some stuff like that, and then how have you been able to keep in with nature, that fishing, that hunting, because a lot of times, I mean, you were 29 when you joined. That's still a lot of years where you could have been doing that. I'm sure you were, especially being here from Texas, right? Whereas a lot of people, I've never hunted in my life, right? I hope to get out there this next season, do it for the first time ever. Fishing, never even really been a fisherman or an angler, right? Have I thrown a line in some water? Sure. Uh, that's about like the best description of it, right? So after
Right.
joining the Navy, and we'll talk about your rating, how were you able to continue to keep doing that passion? Because I'm assuming it's a passion, being where we're going to take this episode and the things we're going to talk about. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So I've always been an outdoors guy, just kind of in general, period. And joining the Navy gave just being in the military. I know not everybody's Navy, but my version of it was being in the Navy, and the travel that came with that offered me new places to explore, and
Mm-hmm.
new things to do, and new places to do the things that I loved already. So, whether I joined as a sonar tech on a submarine.
Okay.
That was my first role, and I did that for 4 years on the USS Hartford, and we got to fish in exotic places in the middle of the ocean.
That's
We
awesome.
could pack a rod and reel, and when there was, we called it Steel Beach. When we're up top, and the the sea state's calm, and we've got a little extra time between missions. Throw a rod and reel out, or grab our rod and reel, and throw a line out in the water and do some fishing. But in addition to that, you know, being from Texas, I grew up in Texas, never really traveled outside of Texas until I joined the Navy. So, I got to get into snowboarding, and I did that in New Hampshire, and across New England, and being stationed up there, it afforded me those opportunities. I've been stationed in Pensacola and in Panama City Beach, Florida. Got to do fishing and diving, and you know boat trips and beach trips that just explored beaches that, honestly, yeah, I hate to say it, but make the Texas coast look shameful. So, uh,
Yeah.
that was my adventures in the Navy, is just wherever we were, whether I was stationed in northern Georgia for a year, and we went up into the Rocky Mountains, and I took my son hiking on the Appalachian Trail, and you know did all kind of cool stuff, that whatever was in like the tri-state area of wherever I was stationed. Man, I
Yeah.
was out there. I was figuring it out, and I was doing it. So a lot of great opportunities because of being in the military, for sure.
Yeah. That's awesome because as much as I want to be an outdoors person. I know I'm really just a city boy, right? Grew up in
That's
grew up in
okay.
Phoenix. As a young kid, we lived in a real small town where there's more outdoors things to do. Like we'd go up to the mountains, visit our uncle and aunt, and like play out in the
Yeah.
woods and things like that. And that was great. And those are fond memories. I really enjoyed that stuff. But like after moving to Phoenix as a preteen, as they call them nowadays, I just grew up in the city, and we didn't do a lot of that. There's a couple camping trips here and there, um, but nothing that like put it all together of like camping plus hiking, camping plus hunting, nothing like that. And but
Right.
I've always wanted to be right, and I don't mean it in a poser kind of way. It's just I've always wanted to be more connected. I love like we've gone four wheeling. I like going four wheeling. Never done it
Mhm.
enough. But like going four wheeling out on trails, even just trails, right? Not rock crawling, just off road trails that take you in and out of the woods, and just that I love, right? It's just great. It's just so scenic, and it really makes you think. Like, even though you're, a lot of city, you might be in a big city and all the traffic and this and that, but when you get out on those trails and you're looking out over just, you know, land, trees, desert, whatever it is, and there's nothing in sight, it really makes you think like, holy damn, like this,
Mhm.
this is a huge country, right?
Right.
Like Texas, we know huge, Alaska, huge. But like all along the West Coast, whether it's Alaska, Texas, Montana, California, Arizona, New Mexico, those are really big, vast states with a lot of open area, and it really makes you just kind of like, damn, man, there's so much out here that you can explore, And sometimes maybe there's nothing there to explore, but so I really think that's cool that I never took those opportunities in these foreign lands, right? Again, city boy, I was out there doing the city lifestyle, never ever looking for the hiking trail here or the hiking trail there. So I think that's awesome that you display that other side or that other opportunity that the Navy does provide. As we are at a recruiting command, we gotta slap that on there a little bit, right? It just depends on what you're into, and just like being able to find that thing to take advantage of wherever you're at. So that's awesome. That's super cool that you've been able to do that. Where have you? So you mentioned some of the fishing places, which is awesome. We got one here, viewer. Brother Dave Coulter, retired chief here. Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah, brother. Love it. Right. And so the fishing. All right. So fishing is one thing. I fished. Oh, I didn't fish. There I go lying. On the Russell off the coast of Maui, the country boys were out there fishing. They caught a shark. I
Right.
remember that. I have pictures
Yeah.
of it somewhere. That's super cool. You ever caught a shark or anything like wicked like that in any of those
Yeah.
fishing adventures?
Yeah. Did some great fishing out of Panama City on the shore. Caught some small sharks myself. Took a offshore fishing trip out of Destin, and my wife outfished me, and she caught a 6 foot uh, black tip shark, which was pretty cool, pretty incredible. I got a video of that somewhere. So yeah, I really got into that kind of stuff because I was able to you know try it firsthand because I was there. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if I had of just kind of stayed put in Central Texas, those are things I don't think I would have ever gotten into because yeah, we'd make a trip down to the coast once a year or whatever and go party on the beach, but you know I wasn't actually embracing, like you said, the opportunity to get out there and try different things. And
Yeah.
once I tried them, I love them. And to be honest, I have too many hobbies. I, I'm not really good at one style of hunting or fishing because I enjoy all of them. So when I get a chance to go out with some guys or a buddy, and I got one buddy. He would come down every year for 3 years that I was in Panama City, and we would camp on the beach for 3 to 4 nights, and we would just fish the whole time. We'd wake up, get some breakfast, and fish until we were hungry, and then we'd take a break, and we would get some food, and then we'd go back to fishing until we were ready to call it a night, and then we'd head back to the camp, grill up some steaks, drink some bourbon, sit by a fire, bullshit, and it was just the greatest time of relaxing and getting back to nature and then just decompressing. And that's a lot of what I focus on now with my team is opportunities to decompress, and we do it for everybody. We have tons of people that come out on trips with us, and they've never been fishing, they've never been hunting, and it's good that they usually let us know ahead of time so we can kind of prepare and have the right stuff to show them and loan them a rifle if need be and all that kind of stuff. But uh, it's really about the connections. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. How we'll stick to that before we segue into your organization and everything. The decompression part of it, right? Submariner, right? I got a couple submariner friends. You read Reddit and everything else, right? Submariners, they have it hard, especially over in Guam right now, where no one loves them. How important, or how were you able to manage that decompression time? Is it just by that fishing or that trip or that friend coming down? Give us something. Give us some wisdom that we could pass on to the younger ones that are listening, of how to take advantage of that, how to use it, so you can have that decompression, be ready for the next mission or the next patrol or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's a great question. Uh, my my biggest thing, and I wish I would have had someone tell me this early on, is don't forget your roots. Don't forget what makes you you. Whether it be gaming or Pokemon or going out and outdoors fishing, going to the beach, whatever it may be that really kind of generated who you are. That's what you got to reconnect to, because I feel like there is a way too many young men and young women that join the military, and they just get caught up in what everybody else is doing those first couple 3 years.
Yeah. Yep.
And you know it, it's important to know that no matter what you're into, there's someone in your group that's into the same. There's someone that's going to have so much in common with you, no matter what their background is, no matter where they come from. It's going to surprise you as a young military member. It's going to surprise you how many that there's people around you that may look completely different than you, have completely different backgrounds, but share the exact same interests. So
Yeah.
reach out, be willing to meet them, make friends, and and go enjoy what you've always enjoyed,
Yeah.
because that you have an opportunity to do that with new people in a new environment, and that you've ever had before. And if you pass up on it, then you may just find that you feel like you could have taken more advantage of your time, during those first early years,
Hmm.
um, and instead of just getting caught up in the flow.
Yeah, no, that's beautifully said. I am a victim of that, right? I was a victim of my own willingness to hit the bar, to go party, and do all that. And I got a friend that's
Exactly.
been on before, my boy Tap, and like the amount of travel he did through Europe, I envy. Right? It is just like he did and saw so much and everything. Where I went to Rome one time, although I enjoyed it because that's a dream city of mine. um, it was a horrible trip overall, and I'll talk to you details afterwards. Right, a lot of illegal substances being snorted through the noses of previous service members. We'll say that, okay?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and but I think as a lot of young people, right, like maybe we don't know who we are when we're 18, 19. You coming in at 29 probably had a lot better of a understanding of who Will was at 29, right? As I did at 29, than did at 18. So I think that's great that you say that, especially the part of we say your group, but expand that group to like the whole command, to the MWR. Look for things like that, because you will be
Mhm.
surprised of how many people are out there that are into whatever that thing is. One of the things to bring this back to the outdoor stuff, I was just talking to Adam Hernandez up there in Austin about this, like, or him. It was either him or one of my buddies online about how much the Japanese. Oh, it was online with my buddies. How much the Japanese are into bass fishing. I never,
Mm.
I had a buddy that was stationed out there, and we were talking about it. He enjoys fishing too, and he's like, yeah, the whole time he was stationed there, he never once thought about it to go fishing. I was like, all the times I've been to Japan, which a good handful or so now, I never once thought about finding a local pond, a local lake, renting gear from MWR, and going bass fishing. I've never been into fishing like that, but you know what I mean? It's that where you're like, if that's what you were into before the military, before the Navy, whatever it is,
Mhm.
like seek those out everywhere you go, and I think you'll probably have some luck in finding it, and you'll end up bass fishing, offshore fishing, whatever it is, probably in some pretty fucking cool places. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I think
absolutely.
that's awesome. So let's segue that. All right, now that we got some of this the standard stuff out of the way, you got your ball cap on, falling outdoors. go ahead and kick us off. What is Fallen Outdoors? What is your position in it? And let's just start talking about that.
Okay. Yeah. The Fallen Outdoors is an awesome organization that I've been very lucky to be a part of, but also just really enjoy being a part of. And I'll start out giving you kind of the foundation and how it started. It started on a mountaintop outpost in Afghanistan in 2008, and it was three different soldiers became close friends, and they started discussing and coming to a realization of how important it was for all of them personally to connect with each other in nature in the outdoors, and they founded what we have today, which is an organization, a nonprofit organization. It's everybody on staff is a volunteer, so it's all veteran volunteer staff, and it's all about our veterans, uh, active duty and veterans of all branches, as well as Gold Star family members. Anybody that's lost someone in the line of duty as a family member. So what we focus on is putting together trips all over the country. My personal focus is here in Texas, uh, to get veterans and active duty service members and Gold Star family members outdoors, and that could be a marathon, that could be hunting trips, that could be fishing trips, anything that allows our people, the people that we're here to serve, get outdoors and kind of get outside of their normal everyday stressors. So going back to what we discussed, decompression, also camaraderie. It's it's uh, it's a real thing that when folks get back home, because oftentimes when you join the military and you go out and do your thing, no matter what branch you're in, where you're stationed, and a lot of folks end up coming back home, and when they get home, they just don't quite have the same structure. When I got back home, I fell into it too. Like you kind of expect to pick right back up where you left off with your friends that you had and your family members. But the reality is, for the last 4 years, 8 years, 20 years, those folks have had to figure out a way to exist without you.
Yeah.
You've been gone, and so oftentimes we don't quite fit back in exactly how we fit before. Not that we're not part of their lives, but maybe we're just a different version of that part than we're used to, and we also tend to find it hard to cope, or I guess a better way is to say it is hard to relate to our civilian counterparts because of some of the crazy shit we've seen and done and had to go through. That's the reality of it, and
Yeah.
and so giving folks an opportunity to reconnect with other service members that can relate to their struggles is sometimes a absolute game changer. We've had service members, retirees, people that have served their time, that done a tour or two and got out, and they go on a hunting trip. Whether it could be as simple as just going on a hog hunting trip. No trophies. We're just out there to shoot some pigs that are invading the land of the farmers and the ranchers. And whether we get any pigs or not, at the end of the day, after we're out there doing our thing and got some focused dedication on the task at hand, we come back, we're decompressing, we're talking, we're bullshitting, we're eating some good food, we're sitting around a campfire, and we have countless examples of where folks have openly said that it changed their life. It pulled them out of a dark place. It helped them refocus, get some clarity and just feel alive again.
Yeah.
And that's so important that we provide that for each other because who else is going to do it? Nobody else understands the struggle. Nobody else really gets it like we do. They want to help, they want to support, and we provide those opportunities for them to support from corporations to individuals. We do a here in Texas we do a an annual banquet in the fall. So that'll be coming. I believe it's the third weekend of August, and it'll be in Fort Worth area this year. Last year was our first one in Texas. It was our first annual, and it was a hit. We had a lot of fun, raised some good funds for the veterans. Every single penny we raise, no matter how we're raising it, goes towards putting trips on, together for our veterans and our active service members. So it's a lot of fun. You know, there's always an opportunity and a way for people to be involved and be part of it at their comfort level.
Where let me ask. I always got to choose my words. Try to be smart here. What is the bigger impact that we think when we have these service members going out there on these trips, right? You're absolutely right. We are disconnected, disassociated with the reality of civilian quote unquote life, right? All those things. Is it really what brings us back to it, or what have you seen or experienced? Is it the camaraderie with the other veterans, or is it like the peace of the outdoors that weighs in more and kind of like centers them and focuses them and kind of helps them back to being the better person that they need to be at home? Like, is it hand in hand, or is there one that you think kind of is the bigger impact? Because there's a lot of different veteran communities, right? I think some probably are better than others. Just meeting, not just meeting you, but learning about this one here. Is it like a location dependent thing, right? We're in Texas, a lot of hunting, a lot of outdoorsy things. In San Diego, maybe not so much outdoorsy unless it's a hike. You know what I mean? So, like, what do you think it is? Like, is it that the outdoors, just getting out there and with people, of course, right? Or is it kind of like bouncing ideas, having that conversation with someone else that kind of gives somebody the focus of like, okay, maybe I haven't thought of it like that. Now I could go back and try to be that better person.
It's absolutely goes hand in hand, Josh. Like you said, and that whether it be strong on one side of that conversation or the other is really dependent on each person. So you know, I'll pick on you for an example. You know, maybe when you get together with some folks, if you come out on a trip with us, say, right, maybe being outdoors, yeah, it's cool for a little while, but it's not really the part that does it for you.
Yeah,
Being your background and your culture, maybe it's the sitting around and really connecting with some folks that are like minded that that kind of gives you clarity and brings it back around for you. Whereas some people, maybe they grew up hunting or grew up fishing, and when they joined the military, they got pulled into a different environments, and we talked about that, right? Like a lot of folks don't continue to pursue their passions because they just kind of go with, hey, what's everybody else doing? And this is an opportunity for them to get back to what they grew up doing and really reconnect and have an opportunity to get out and do something that they haven't done since they were young or
yeah,
before the military. So it definitely is both, it just affects people, you know, the way that it fits better for them.
yeah. I think that's great. And I just want to pound on this a little bit. We'll beat this dead horse, right? It's that one, when you come in, don't lose yourself, right? That doesn't mean don't assimilate to what we are now, right? I think that a lot of time in today's military, we have a hyper focus on being an individual when we shouldn't be an individual. We should be part of that team, right? But not losing yourself doesn't mean all the craziness that we might be seeing in the military, right? Um, it just means like we were talking about, like, what are the true hobbies that you like? What are those things? And staying true to that, because without even trying, military service will take that away from you over the long haul, right? Over 20 years, if you don't make a concentrated effort and focus on staying connected to those things, you will only be connected to work, right? And again,
Right.
me, like yourself a lot, I have a lot of hobbies that I'm only about maybe 33% good at, right? I'm a hobby collector, as I've said it on here before. Right? I love learning about the new hobby, the new thing, trying it out for a little bit, and then being like, cool, I learned about that. What's the next one? Probably, if you're a doctor listening, probably tell me I got ADHD or something. Well, the Navy gave it to me, routed up on my VA. Okay. But like, it's that, and I don't know. It's just all those hobbies never satisfied, so we just throw ourselves at the work, sacrifice for the work, sacrifice family for the work. You know what I mean? And picking on myself, right? As you like to, like, uh, I don't. For me, it's the nature part, right? I don't need a large group, maybe one, two, at most, like three other people to like be there with that really vibe with and connect with. But a lot of it is the quietness of the nature, right? The taking it all in, hearing all the little birds chirp, or hearing nothing, just the wind, whatever, the trees, the bushes, the dead cactus, whatever. Like, for me, just sharing, like, that's what it is for me. Um, let's talk about, so falling outdoors. How did you told us where it started. When did you learn about it, and how did you start getting involved to get you in the place you're at now with the Texas team lead? Because to me, I hear lead Texas. That's a big spot. So, like, to talk to us about that role that you're playing in it.
Well, Josh, I guess about a year and a half ago, a buddy of mine that I worked with, Gabe Flores, I believe you know him.
Yep.
Uh, he told me about the Fallen Outdoors. I'd never heard of it, and he's like, "Hey, you got to get on their Facebook page so that because they put together a hunting and fishing group or trips together, and all you got to do is when you see a post, make a comment, put in for it, and if you get drawn, you got a free trip." So I'm like, that's cool. So I got on, and I was a floater for a while. Put in for a trip here and there if I thought I could make it. Did never get picked up for one, but then the Texas lead at the time made a post that he was looking for somebody to volunteer and help out doing flyers and social media stuff like that. And I like to keep my hands in a few fires, so I was like, yeah, let me check in on this because I've done volunteer stuff before. Uh, while I was traveling around, I had an opportunity to be a volunteer firefighter and stuff like that, and I tried different things, make sure I knew really what I didn't want to do when I got out of the Navy.
Yeah.
Once
Yeah.
I grow up, what am I have to do it for a real job type thing.
Yeah.
And all respect to our firefighters, but that's one I'm gonna pass on. That was pretty pretty intense. Uh, so I thought this is cool because it's all volunteer. It's a 501(c). It's 100% nonprofit, and it's something I can enjoy getting me even more back to those roots of how I grew up hunting and fishing and being outdoors. And so I jumped on board on the team, and just I was honestly trying to stay in the background and just kind of hang out and get a feel for things. And so there was some changes in the leadership, um, and they asked folks who wanted to step up, and I felt like it was something I was capable of doing at the time. So that's how I ended up here. It was really a really quick turnaround from me joining the staff to being team lead. It was only about 3 months, I believe.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
I ended up being team lead for the state of Texas. So that was really just time and opportunity and my desire to plug back in
Yeah.
with a community that I would. And selfishly, it keeps me plugged in as I go to transition out of the military. So I kind of foresaw that coming where, I'm I've been in the Navy for 20 years, and here, you know, at that time, a year and a half away, I'm going to be a civilian. Well, I knew that I would want to stay plugged in with our community,
Yeah.
and so that's one reason I did it. Hey, this is something I can do long term. I can do it on my level, at the point that I have the capacity and time and bandwidth. If it gets to be too much, I can always easily step down from this role and just be part of the team again. That type of stuff. Uh, but something I can stick with and be a part of, to stay plugged in with the community and keep doing what I enjoy doing with those folks as well. And it's really working out that way too. And our biggest mission right now is just awareness. Like we have a great team. We have 28 volunteers just in Team Texas, and 7 of them are new and they're up and coming. They're getting settled in, but we have over 20 volunteers spread out all over Texas that have been doing this for a while, and they're doing great things. They're putting on great trips. We got a team out in West Texas in El Paso. We've got folks in the Valley. From here in Corpus down to the Valley is one region. We have 6 different regions in Texas. So of course we have a central region and a northeast Dallas type region,
Yeah.
Houston region, and even a panhandle region. So we're spread out all over the place. We're always growing. We're always shifting. We're always looking for opportunities to plug in with the community locally, and you know get more veterans aware of our network and the opportunity. Um, so that's how I became part of the team, and honestly, the team is doing great things, and National's doing great things too. I would be remiss not to tell you some of the cool stuff that they've got going on right now that is really helping bring awareness to this community and to the opportunities for our veterans to plug in, regardless of what state they're in. There's 48 teams, I believe, spread out all over the country. A couple of those teams encompass more than one state, like up in New England, where you got smaller
Yeah.
states. But there's just about a team for every single state in America, and they've recently, and here's the big breaking news I wanted to share with you today. They've recently gotten Grizzly nicotine pouches on as a sponsor. So
Oh
what
wow.
what Grizzly does, yeah. So what Grizzly does is they have 3 nonprofits that they sponsor, and they wanted one of them to be veteran based. So they've gone to work with us, and uh, to the point where, instead of just putting Grizzly on everything that they sponsor, which they sponsor number 10 Ty Dillon NASCAR driver, right? So Grizzly's a big sponsor of them. So what's really cool is not only is Grizzly making taxable write-off donations to our organization to help our mission, but they're advertising for us too by putting the Fallen Outdoors right on the uniform of Ty that Ty wears, and all on their social medias, and spreading the word that there's an organization out there that can help folks reconnect to their community and get outdoors. And sometimes you just got to get out of the 4 walls. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's just get outside and breathe some fresh air, and get some renewed energy and focus and perspective.
What? So you talk about the national. Are there any limits on the veteran community participating in any of the teams or regions or areas? Like, so you sent me the one for the South here, right? Got on that Facebook page. Geo Batchin out here, so I'll look. I'm out here. I'm in this area. But if I want to go hunt in Arizona, if there's a team there, can I cross pollinate here? Is there any restriction on that?
Oh, no restrictions whatsoever. There's so the reason it's it's broken up is that it's just a little easier to manage if you know for regional areas. Let's say
Yeah.
somebody lives in Alabama, right? Well, that's kind of central to, I guess, Alabama and Mississippi. They'd be central to that southern region because it's from Texas to Georgia and down to Florida, right? And all the states in between. So you could, we within that one Facebook group called the Fallen Outdoors Southern Region, that's where all those states post their trips. So we say, hey, Team Texas trip, specific. That here's the details. Here's how to put in for it. Uh, our trips here in Texas, we don't mind where you're coming from. It's just
Yeah.
we're advertising that the trip is in Texas, right?
Okay. Okay.
And
Yep.
and if you're in the Midwest, there's a whole separate region for Midwest folks, and there's a West Coast region and an East Coast region. So just and it's not just. I mean, we do the trips on Facebook, so that we use that platform to because it's the easiest way to post trips so folks can see it. But there's tons of media out there that people can utilize to get more information. That go to the fallenoutdoors.org website and just scroll through some of the about us and how to get involved. We have an awesome program called the 22 for 22. Uh, you know, a lot of folks are familiar with the statistics that there's an average of 22 veterans a day that commit suicide, and it's important. That's a huge part of what we're trying to do is to prevent the loss of life of our community. So 22 for 22 is a way to be able to contribute to that effort of putting trips on to get folks, our veterans, and active duty outdoors by committing to $22 a month towards that effort. So go to the fallenoutdoors.org website, check out the 22 for 22, and you can sign up to have $22 automatically uh, committed to that effort every month if that's how you would want to help out. It's enough to help out when there's plenty of people doing it, but it's small enough to not uh, hurt hurt your pocketbook too bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. That's a very popular. I know. I think most people know from like the 22 push-up challenge of, so many years ago and
Exactly.
stuff. But it's ongoing, and there's a lot more ways you can support that. So check that out. Like I said, fallenoutdoors.org, and go through all that. Let's talk about. So I've been looking through the page. There's some hunts. There's one that was actually here out on the west side, that hog hunt that got posted. I think it filled up and probably got selected pretty quick. I'm sure that's a very popular uh, hunt, which I guess just to say, right, hunt to go on is those hog huntings. I love the YouTube videos of them. Um, I was going to actually sign up for it because I got some weapon systems here in the RV that could secure some of those. And
Okay.
but one of the things that kind of stood out to me was the suggestion of night vision. Which, if you haven't seen hog hunting, just go to YouTube and watch some of it. Most of it happens at night with thermal scopes or night vision. I'm not of the dollar value to have no night vision or thermal scope. That being said, it's something that you did mention. Do you guys let's say more of a city boy than me, coming from out of state somewhere, right? No background or anything. They know some force of universal rules of weapon safety stuff, right? Because they're a veteran, and they want to go on a hunt. Do you guys provide some material and weapon systems, things like that? Like, how much do you provide, and what's the bare minimum someone could show up with to go on a hunt?
We do provide everything we can. Night vision optics are still a pretty expensive,
Yes.
endeavor.
Yeah.
So I know most people don't have it. I've yet to pull that trigger, pun intended, myself. Uh, but it's on my list to do
Yeah.
so. Especially with all the cool opportunities that the Team Texas staff members are out there, generating for our staffers to take veterans out. I want to be able to help out and go uh, be a staff member to support those hunts as well. Uh, the thing is with what we can provide and what we can't is always going to be in the details of the post. So each individual post, uh, like with that hunt specifically, we pulled all of our resources together here in Team Texas and got as many scopes as we could, got as many night vision setups as we could to be able to have a loner or two here and there for
Yeah.
folks that didn't have it, and that's always outlined in the post. uh, there's always a short list of, hey, this is what you'll need, whether it
Yeah.
be hunt license or bring a cooler if you want to take home some meat. uh, Regardless of what is how simple, there's always going to be a short list right in the middle of the post saying, hey, this is what you absolutely have to bring. And in the case of night hunting pigs, we'll put in there if hey, we do have two loaner setups, if as an example. Uh, but it just depends. If we're
Yeah.
trying to do a larger hunt with 5 or 6 people getting an opportunity on one hunt, then we might not be able to provide loaners
Yeah.
for everybody.
Yeah.
But we try to make that happen. That's not something that the we can really allocate the funds for. The funds are more for guides. The guides will give us a really heavy discount, usually about 50% uh, off their normal rate, and those funds that we generate through fundraising uh, help pay for that, for those guides. And sometimes we try to procure opportunities on private land, but oftentimes, even especially in Texas, with everything being private land and everything, everybody wants to charge for everything for
Yeah.
hunting. Sometimes that there's some cost involved, and then we try to provide a good meal for our participants, as well as even lodging. Sometimes the lodging is, hey, bring a tent, but then other times it's, hey, we're going to be in an Airbnb. So it just depends on each trip
Wow.
what
Yeah.
what what opportunities we've been able to get together for that trip. But all those details will definitely be in the post so that you know what you're getting into before you even put in for it.
Awesome. We got a comment here from Red Eye Rich. Commendable job you're doing, he says. Might be a she. Rich could be short for Rachel, maybe. I don't know. No, that's my boy.
Hey,
Yeah.
Rick,
No,
appreciate it.
it is a great job. It is a great job. Let's talk about some of that you mentioned the cooler. That pig hunt did say, bring a cooler. I thought it was just for cold beverages. On many of these hunts, right, or fishing trips even. I, how to say, like, is the likelihood of you taking home meat very high for any of these?
Yeah, it is. 9 times out of 10, honestly, I can't think of an example of when you wouldn't be able to take home, uh, what you've harvested.
Yeah.
Um, there may be trips where we're gonna, and it'll be announced early on, but there may be trips where the harvest is distributed equally with all the hunters, regardless of whether they personally got
Hmm.
something or not.
Okay.
So
All right.
everybody gets to take home something that wants to take home something. Not everybody, always wants to take home the harvest, but they're in it for the camaraderie and the connection. But yeah, taking home the harvest. I mean, in Texas, we try to, for the most part, we eat what we kill. Unless we're predator hunting, or the pigs are hit or miss.
Yeah,
Because
I was gonna ask about that.
if
Yeah.
yeah, the pigs are hit or miss. You get much over 200 pounds, and they're not really edible. They become
What
very,
what does that? What makes
very.
them not edible? What makes them not edible over? a certain way, as you said, or like I've seen, I watch a lot of YouTube. Okay, and I've seen in some places where they take them into a processor and they harvest it, and the
Mhm.
processor makes up all the steaks, the hamburger, the pork. It's a
Right.
pig, and I don't think a lot of people might not understand that it is just a pig, right? There's nothing special about it, really, from my understanding, from what I see and watch. You could let a pig out of the farm and let it go start roaming, and they say like what within a month or 2 months or something, the snout has already grown longer. It's got tusks coming out, and it's gone fucking like feral, right, or whatever,
Yeah.
wild, right? So, what
Right.
makes a wild pig, a hog out there, like good eating or not good eating? Is it just you just got to eyeball it, or what?
Okay. So a couple things that play into that factor. One, the male feral pig actually has a stink gland in its spinal cord, and the bigger they are, the worse that thing smells. Uh,
Okay.
Especially with the javelinas. The javelinas are more prominent in West Texas, but the males tend to just smell bad, so they're much gamier. Just
Okay.
a really strong gamey taste. As far as the size, that kind of goes hand in hand with the age. Um, if you get up over 200 pounds, the, the the meat becomes so lean and tough and gristly
Mm,
because that's the difference between them and a domestic pig is domestic pigs are in a pen. They're just fat and happy right there where they're
yeah.
at, right?
Yep. Yep.
Like the big fat house cat versus a bobcat or a panther is lean and mean because they're always on the prowl. They're always moving.
Yeah.
So feral pigs are always moving. That's how they eat is they graze like cattle almost. But they travel they travel miles per night sometimes. You know, and so yeah, the meat can just get real tough and more gamey as they get bigger and
Okay.
older.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right. I thought again, I watch a lot of stuff, so I thought that might have been something like that. Because you're right, like wild animals, like they are like bodybuilders. Like they're always working out, they're always moving. Like it's not just a
Absolutely.
plumpy little wagyu A5 that's all just there's no red in it. It's just all fat, and sure it tastes good, but it's all fat. Like these things are just muscled out, even though it's a pig or whatever animal you're harvesting, right? So let's go to in anything up coming up near. I know we're out of season, but from my understanding too, talking to a couple brothers in the mess here in Texas, depending on your private land situation, licensing or licensures, whatever, you can still hunt during this season. Like pigs aside, I understand there's no need for licensing, I think, for pigs, although that one did say you
Correct.
need a hunting
Correct.
license. But you can still again, depending on land, because so much of it is private land. There's still some hunting, like what we would consider off season here in Texas. Is there anything coming up that you know about that you want to share or talk about?
Yeah, so we really do swing through the seasons here in Texas, and therefore the team shifts focus as we swing through, right? So right now we're in the pig and predator uh, time of year because duck season just closed out, and we're getting closer to the summer, and of course the fall starts a whole array of stuff. I think we're coming into turkey season. I've never been a big turkey hunter, but right now the focus is definitely on some night hunts with the pigs, and everybody looks forward to that every year. As we get into the fall, you got different versions of deer hunting. You got your bow season that starts, or you got yeah, for deer hunting you got bow season first, and then gun season, and then you know for like they're all migratory birds. You got dove September 1st. Well, not September 1st is in Central Texas, but depending on the region that you're in, you got dove season, quails. We got out in Lubbock, we got big game birds, crane and geese. even.
That's a
So, yeah, that's most people don't that aren't really into the game birds don't realize that the crane is a game bird. And
yeah.
yeah, I believe they call it the ribeye of the sky is
I
the cranes.
Yeah, I think I've heard that before on one of those hunting channels I watch. I never thought of, again, not being a hunter or anything, but when I thought about hunting and like game, I always thought about your deers, like whether it's your whitetail, your mule, going up into your elks, your moose. Like I always thought of those of like the game, right? Like that's the game animal. Birds, I just and like the word game in this context could mean a lot. I get it, but I it's like just my city brain doesn't connect this shit. So then I thought about birds, and I was like, "Oh, birds are birds. Like, just what? It's just a fucking bird. Like, it doesn't matter. You just, shoot it, and there you got duck or I knew like duck, quail, dove. Outside of that, or I think, and you do actually pheasants. I think pheasants is a type of bird. Correct me if I'm wrong. But like when you just said big game bird, I was like, there's a like that's a big game. Like a crane is big because their fucking wingspan's probably really big, but I don't think of it like, oh, that's a big game bird. And the same thing when I was fishing because I got a pond like right in this RV park I'm at, and so it's like maybe 200, 300 yard by 75-yard pond, right? And me and Adam had been out there fishing, night fishing and stuff, and he would tell me he's like, well, because like bass, it's a predator fish, and I was like, a predator fish? Bro, they're just fish. Like they ain't like a predator fish. Those are called orcas and sharks, okay? That's the only predator like like that's my brain connects with that. But then as I start watching like bass fishing on YouTube, I'm like, "Oh no, these motherfuckers like to eat other fish." Like in your lake or pond, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter. Like they're out here, and then when they do like the top water, when they're spring, like I don't know if it's pre or post spawn, but when they're going after the top water, and I was like, holy shit, like, no, like these bass, they're out here trying to kill shit. And it just
yeah,
really puts things into again, because when I watch YouTube channels and stuff and I see them holding up these big fat bass, I'm like, okay, well, I mean, impressive. I can't do it. I've never caught anything that big, but also it's just a fucking fish. It doesn't matter how big like, yeah, it's a big fish, but now as I'm putting it together of like, okay, well, it's a predator. Like they hunt and kill eat other little fishies. And then just as I'm learning more about it and actually trying to do it, I'm like, okay, I kind of get this now. Like bass, they're a
yeah.
predator fish, and
It's
it's a game fish. They're out there, they're smart. And you gotta. I've never really thought about all the lures and baits that you got to switch up during every different season and weather. I'm like, okay, now when you say that that's a game fish, that makes sense to me because we're playing chess, not checkers, with that bass. Unless you're in this pond and you just throw a worm out and they'll fucking eat it like
exactly.
anything. Yeah. But anyway, that was
No, for
like
sure.
to talk more about the ribeye of the sky, the crane. Have you ever gotten one yourself?
I haven't made it up there yet. I've only been on board. I never even known anybody that hunted that stuff until I became part of the Team Texas team, and some great guys up there in the Panhandle region, and they've invited me up a couple times. I haven't made the trip, but it's definitely going to happen at some point because I got to try it out.
Yeah.
It's I grew up dove hunting, and the biggest thing you can make with a dove is a dove popper or jalapeno popper with dove meat,
It's like
and
two
because they're
it's like
pretty
just two
small.
little
So
breasts. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So it'll be a cool experience, and I know folks that come from all over to go out there and try it. So maybe I'll make it out there next year.
Yeah. Let me know. I'm again, I'm really again, I cannot say this enough. Like I feel like a bum never having hunted or anything, right? And so it's something I really, really want to do. Really before I'm 40, and 40's next year. And I've told some of the other people we work with is like I'm not even gonna be able to take even should I be lucky enough to get anything right. I won't even be able to take most of it home because I don't have a freezer to like pack extra, fucking 75, 100 pounds, whatever it is, right? Like I said, I live in an RV, right? I got a little freezer
Right.
that I could barely fit like 1 week's worth of frozen meats in. Like if I get something, I'm be like, awesome, Cool. I guess I'll take the backstraps and fucking, everyone else could have at it because I'm walking away
There
with
you go.
nothing,
There you
Yeah.
go.
D- but tell us, what are some of the through your life, right? What are some of the trophies? Let's get into the fun stuff. What are some of the trophies that you've hunted or fished that bring back the fond memories that you can share with us?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. One of the coolest big game hunts that I ever went on, and this was actually prior to the Navy. Me and my buddy used to hunt together constantly, and we went on a 10-day camping hunt up in the mountains of Colorado. So we were in this portable tent that was made out of it was homemade. And I say tent, it's a loose term because this
Yeah.
thing was made out of 4 by 8 sheets of plywood. So imagine two 4 by 8 sheets of plywood laying on their side for each wall. So 8 sheets total. So you got 16 square room, and then it was each sheet was hinged so that you could put them in position, screw them in place with the cordless drill, and then the roof, because we're in Colorado in the winter, had to be peaked. So they made the roof trellis, I guess it's called, out of 4-inch PVC pipe that all notched together, like closed and notched and set over the plywood with a knot. And then they threw a huge tarp over it and bungee corded the tarp down. And we got 10 inches of snow on that trip. And that thing held up and just kept all the snow going off to the side instead of collapsing the roof. And we were so toasty in that thing, and I'll tell you why. We were so toasty with 10 inches of snow on the ground that we were down to our skivvies just to keep from burning up
Yeah.
because they brought a wood stove
Mm.
set inside the tent, and the pipe went out through a hole in the plywood and up, so it routed sideways and up, and we kept that wood stove burning as soon as we got back from our hunt until we were ready to go back out, and it was quite the setup, and to this day, it's definitely my biggest hunting trophy because I had the opportunity and was successful in harvesting a 5 by 4, which is that with whitetail and mule deers and with deer in general that it's referred to as a 8 point or a 10 point. With elk, it's referred to as 5 by 5 or whatever it may be. So
Mhm.
mine was a 5 by 4, so 5 points on one side, four on the other. Uh, Bull elk, and that thing was a beast. And I it was a cool experience in taking it too because I hiked about an hour. We went as far as we could into these woods in this 4-wheel drive truck. And this truck was a beast and it got us through some crazy stuff. I didn't know we were going to make it through because we're crawling along the side of a mountain
Yeah.
and just looking over the side out the window. It's like, man, we don't have any room for error here.
Yeah.
And we got past that and got as far as we could. And even from that point, I hiked about an hour, and I sat on one side of a hill uh, by myself, complete solitude. No one, even my hunting buddies were 500 yards away, at the
Jeez.
closest.
Yeah.
And it was just so quiet and peaceful, and the dust started to come down, and I'm looking across, and these ravines are steep. I mean, really steep. Like you're holding on to the trees and stuff as you work your way down the side. And I'm looking across to the other ravine, and I scoped it at 450 yards is where I ended up, distance of what I ended up taking that elk. And he just kind of appeared out of nowhere, and the sun was shining on his coat. And honestly, I'd already spent some time thinking, if I never even see an elk, this has been worth it.
Yeah.
Because I love that peaceful solitude that you get when
Mhm.
you're just in the middle of Mother Nature, it's time to reflect and just breathe and not worry about the day-to-day stress stuff, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And then I had that opportunity and it worked. It went out. It went perfectly, you know, ringer of a shot, and then when I went over there to look for it, it took me about 20 minutes because he had went downhill so fast because it's so steep that he was a lot lower than I thought he was going to be. When I found him, he was, you know, he was already passed. He passed quickly, which is good. And then you know, I field dressed him, and my buddies caught up with me. We had walkie talkies, so I told them what was going on, and that was a hell of a task getting that thing out of there because we had to cut off everything that we weren't going to keep anyway. You
Yeah.
know, legs, that kind of stuff, and we had to cut them in half. And there was four of us total. Two of us had to take one half, two of the other because this thing was, you know, on the hoof. I think he was 750 pounds. So he was just a beast, you
Yeah.
know. So strip him down a little bit. He still got a lot of weight, and we had to drag him out of there uh, as far as we could to get him in the truck. So you know, I had him mounted, um, huge mount, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to take him around, you know, all over the country as I when I joined the Navy.
Yeah.
So I called my brother up who lives in Mississippi, and he's into hunting and stuff. And I said, you know, he's got a family and a nice sized house, and I said, hey, I need somewhere to put this elk for the next few years while I'm in the Navy. I don't know how long that's going to be. Yeah. So I drove to see him and brought it to him, and we hung it up on the wall. And it's been in that spot ever since. And every once in a while, I have to remind him, I'm coming for that thing someday. That's still my elk.
Yeah.
So,
So,
yeah,
is
he's
it
got his
was
own.
is that a I forget there's like a European mount, I think they call it. So is it like the full
Yeah,
head? Is the full head or just
mine's
the
a full
antlers?
head.
The full head,
Yeah, I did
like
the
with
shoulder.
skin on,
Yeah, shoulder. They call it shoulder mount.
shoulder
Basically,
mount.
your
Okay.
shoulders up. Yeah. Now he got an elk on a separate trip. He didn't go on the trip with me, but him and his friends went out and he got an elk and he did the European mount, which looks really cool as well. But it
Yeah.
just doesn't take up that commanding presence that the shoulder mount does.
Yeah.
And so he's got my elk in his living room and he's got his elk in his bedroom. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm coming to get my elk.
And I bet like a good brother and a good lying hunter, he talks about how he got both of them probably with the same bullet at the same time or some bullshit, right? Fucking guys.
Probably,
Uh,
yeah.
s- have you? So, what'd you shoot it with?
It was a 30-06. I
I
still
was
got
gonna
it.
say it
Yeah.
sounds like a you just being from Texas sounds like a 30-06 guy. You know, I think us younger generation would call that like FUD stuff, right? Like a good old hunter,
Yeah.
you know, is fucking 30-06, right? You fucking put more bodies in the ground between fucking World War II and fucking Korea and Vietnam than anything, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Remington
uh,
30-06 can't go wrong.
yeah. What are you shooting now? Like so I'm guessing you're an enthusiast of all things, right? So if you're getting out there on a hunt now, what are you taking with you to go to go harvest that just something local like a whitetail or something?
Um, well, my baby is my 5.56. I really enjoy that gun. Finally got it dialed in, and you know, it's just those rail guns are so much fun because you can mount whatever you want on them and put whatever size clip you got on them, and you know what I mean. But that's more for just plinking around, predator hunting, pig hunting, that kind of stuff. Uh, a good like local deer gun, local meaning like if I'm setting a stand and we're talking 80 yards or something like that. I got a 270 that does great. You know, I really enjoy that 270. It doesn't kick too hard, helps keep it accurate, and you know, I can shoot a dime with that 270. So I don't tend to get too fancy and get in. I love the guns, but I'm more into practical. than I am, fancy. Uh, Now, where I want to get fancy is with the night scopes and the you
Yeah.
know heat vision and all that kind of stuff. That'll be
Yeah.
cool to get into, but yeah, I'm working up to that.
Yeah. Again, it's my bougie city boy self that cannot stop being fancy. So like I'm into right now I got a 6.5 precision, not really a hunting rifle, because that motherfucker's heavy, but just a precision rifle, budgeted. I've had that for years now. Um, got a 300 blackout, a Ruger
Oh,
American.
that's cool.
Um, that I
Yeah.
just want to like in the future suppress and just have little ghost farts coming out of it, sounding real cool. And then again, I'm into the fancy I look at a lot of things and again watching a lot of YouTube and I'm all for like what's the new, what's the coolest gadget
Yep.
gun, what's the new, and now it's like what's the new cartridge, and there's so many, right? So I'm looking at
Mhm.
a 6 millimeter arc um hunting rifle, just because again I've watched a lot of things about it and they say they do a great job. They fly straight, fly level, and as any hunter will say, right, is like, oh, you could kill anything depending on placement. Like as long as you blow the heart out, yeah, the thing is gonna go down, right? So I'm definitely waiting to get that, but then I'll definitely be making some range visits and what to hit you up. Is there a good range down there in Corpus, like outdoor range to get like long,
No,
decent 100+ yards?
there's not. I think the closest one is up closer to you. I forget the little town, maybe Beeville. I think Beeville has a good one. So
Okay.
that's kind of in the middle between us and myself and you in San Antonio. So uh, there is a couple around. They're just I don't. There isn't any down here. The 100 yards is the furthest we got down here,
Yeah.
and it's an indoor range. So, and even that is a club deal. So you got to be a member.
Yeah.
So uh, that's something we could definitely use in this area is a long range outdoor,
Yeah.
spot.
Yeah. For as 2A loving and everything as Texas is, it's something I've found to be hard to come by. I thought there'd be more moving down here, right? Well, me and Adam, we went up to Lockhart a couple weekends ago, President's Day weekend, went shooting up there. Again, just 100 yard range. It's not bad. There is one out here towards the west side, where they have I think out to maybe 1,000. Um, Not
That's
too
cool.
expensive, it might have been 1,000. And they got this cool camera system where like you log into their app and as you're shooting, because this is like a no walking down range kind of range at all, right? So you have to
Okay.
log into their
Yeah.
app and then it shows you the camera that's looking at your target, and so you can see
Shit, yeah.
like live hits as you're sending it down range. Um,
That's
my
way
one,
better anyway.
yeah,
Who wants to walk down?
yeah, it's true. I mean, it's when they're showing it on camera, I was just kind of like, it doesn't look like it's working that smooth. But at any rate, still, if you got to refresh a couple times, it still saves you the trip from going down there. But I might hit that one
Gotcha.
up or something, just to keep tuning in the Ruger Precision, and then if I was gonna go on that hog, I got a 5.56 and a 10.5 inch pistol, which I mean, it's not gonna get out there real far, but it's the AR of the bunch that can send more rounds down range a little bit quicker and get the job done a
Mhm.
little bit faster there. So I was really thinking
Well,
about it. I was like,
and
go ahead.
there is some IR options that are getting a lot more affordable because of all the the fancy stuff has kind of become the focus. The more old school IR options are becoming more affordable, and some of those IR flashlights are pretty legit now. You can get out like
Yeah,
300 yards and stuff with the
yeah,
flashlights. So there's ways to do it without breaking the bank.
yeah,
Because
definitely, yeah,
if you're really going in for a decent thermal, those are like 2 grand,
yeah,
to be in the conversation. So,
yeah. Even the
but yeah,
one I
the
think
IR got me there.
the Primary Arms out of Houston came out with one that again entry level. I've seen reviews on it. You're still talking like 2 grand, and 2 grand
Yeah,
it gets real hard to justify unless you're really
absolutely.
doing that. a lot.
Yeah.
That's the one of those, like, to feel like you really got return on investment there. You need to be out there 5 times, and you better be bringing some meat home to feed the family.
Yeah. Well, and begs the point. I mean, there's plenty of outfitters that you can pay to go out and hog hunt, anytime you want. And no matter what you're paying the outfitter, it's a hell of a lot cheaper than trying to keep up with the latest, you
Yep.
know, night vision.
Yep.
Because that's one of the things that kind of held me back, or not held me back, but had me hesitant to take the leap. Is I feel like as soon as I buy one, I'm going to have it for a year, maybe two tops, and then it's going to be completely outgunned by something that's way better.
Yeah.
Because the technology has been just blowing and going, every year for the last 3 or 4 years, maybe even longer. And it's like, yeah, I'm the type, once I buy something, I want to be able to depend on it for a while.
Hmm.
And maybe it's leveled out enough. If I take the leap and spend 2 grand, I'll be happy with it for at least 4 or 5 years. Um, but that's kind of what I was waiting on. Is
Yeah.
I didn't want to buy something that seemed cool at the time, and then 2 years from now, it's like, oh man, this technology blows mine away, and
Yep.
I dropped 2 grand on it.
Yep.
And then you can't
Yep.
turn around and sell it for that.
Nope.
You
I
might get
mean, you just,
500 bucks.
yep, just up the river about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely is the case. Will, what else do you want to tell us about Fallen Outdoors? Is there anything we haven't covered or talked about that we need to before we wrap this up?
Um, we touched on all the things I had notes on. For Team Texas, we have I will share a link, um, that we have everything for our.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Okay,
You there?
okay, sorry about that. That didn't work out. On Linktree, uh, we have a Linktree set up where, I believe it's TFO Team Texas on Linktree, and if you go there, it has Team Texas Instagram, Team Texas TikTok, X, Facebook, link to the southern page, and the main website, and even a donation button. So there's plenty of it's all in one place to be able to kind of check everything out, and get involved at whatever level you're comfortable with. So that's what I encourage everybody to do at this point, is just look us up. You can find us on all those socials. Um, definitely look up the main website, fallenoutdoors.org, and come out and hang out with us. If we're going to be in your area, uh, hell, you can come say hi. Even, if we're on a trip or something, just reach out to the staffer. Let them know you want to get involved. You want to connect with the folks. We'll look for an opportunity for you. It's all about making connections and getting folks together. So this is
Definitely.
just how we do it. So
Definitely. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna be reaching out on the Facebook page, and then we're gonna definitely keep in touch because, like I said, it is a big time goal of mine to hunt this year. I don't care if it starts with the upcoming turkey season, birds, fucking. I've been doing a lot of little pond fishing here. It's all just catch and release, but I am. I think this weekend we might go fishing over here at one of the lakes or something. But like I'm finally mature enough and have learned from my 20 years of mistakes, at least in this part of life, to take advantage of where I am stationed. And as we talked about at the beginning of this, and
yeah,
to do something other than just the city life stuff, right? Which, I mean, it helps because San Antonio is just a small town. All right, no shade at San Antonio,
yeah,
but it's a small town when you come from other places. So yeah,
yeah.
we'll definitely you'll give me all those links. I'll post them in the show description notes below. Everyone, thanks for tuning in tonight, hanging out with us. Again, reach out in your local area, find the veteran communities that can help you transition, or just if you're looking for a friend or something, right? You never know what you're going to find out there. I think a lot of
Right.
times, especially for the retirees, right? If you're having a hard time transitioning, maybe you need to get away from the normal life of going to work and on base still, but to have the camaraderie, something like this, like the Fallen Outdoors, any other organization in your local area, reach out and do that. All right. Will, stand by for us just a second while I do some disclosure notes to make sure I don't get in trouble later. Hey, thanks everyone for visiting and watching the show with us again. Go out there and find your local veteran community, help them out, volunteer, just hang out, whatever it is. If you're about it, check it out. Where am I? The information, views, and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely of myself, Joshua Moore, and the individuals involved, and do not necessarily represent the DOD, DON, or these, or those of the respected institutions or organizations. All right, thanks for joining us. It was a pleasure. I thank for everyone tuning in and watching, and we'll catch you all on the next one. We out.